Well, I guess we can still talk about the trade deadline event in NHL 24. If you didn't watch my breakdown video, this is potentially the worst event that we've ever received in Hockey Ultimate Team. More so on how you create the master set players than the actual event itself, because the trade deadline event is usually pretty interesting when it comes to the cards getting traded and them getting upgraded. So in this video, we are going to rank the master set players. I need to be very clear here. Do not make any of these from week 1. If you really want to acquire these cards, buy them on the auction house, and good luck doing that. But do not support this event in any way. You are almost guaranteed to spend over 1 million coins creating these master set players. So please, any of my viewers, do not make any of them. But if you are wondering, and we want to talk about the master set players and more so the event cards that I think could get traded and increase in value, let's talk about them. So let's go through first off the ones that are like the consensus favorites to get traded, and I'll give you my opinions on them. If I don't highlight them, I don't think that they are going to get traded. Let's start first with Shawn Walker. I gotta be honest with you. Smart money is the Flyers are nowhere near as good as their standings indicate, but John Tortorella will go down swinging, and he has his team doing that as well. They should be rebuilding, but they're in the 3rd spot in the Metro, and they're 5 points up on the Islanders from making the playoffs. I don't think that they will go out and spend any assets to actually acquire players to help them on a playoff run. However, I think it would go a long way to not trade anyone, regardless if that is the smart thing to do for the franchise. I think that they won't trade Shawn Walker. So maybe that's kind of a hot take, but I don't think that this card's going to get upgraded. I think Shawn Walker is still going to be a Flyer. Adam Henrique, I would say, is a 99.9% traded player. He is having an incredible year, like a career resurgence. He's great on the faceoffs, can play wing in real life. I 100% think that he is going to be traded. Kind of stunned that he wasn't in the Ilya Lyubushkin trade to the Leafs, simply because I think the Leafs need another forward, and if they had him at center, Tavares could go to the wing, but the asking price was probably a 1st-round pick or something silly, and that's why they haven't been moved. But he will get traded somewhere. Capo Kakinen for my Sharks. This one's extremely tough because he's had a pretty good season given the fact of the team in front of him. And Magnus Corona put on a performance against the Dallas Stars, one of the best ones I've seen all season. If Blackwood wasn't hurt, I would say this is a slam dunk, but I don't think for the Sharks' future it's good for them to throw Magnus Corona in and just get shelled every night like they did in his NHL debut against the Oilers early on this year. Not only that, goaltenders have far less value than people think. This would be for like a 6th or a 5th rounder at most. I'd say it's like a 60% chance it happens. Jake Allen from the Montreal Canadiens is another one that, of all the teams that need goaltenders, I just don't know how much they're going to be willing to spend to go get Jake Allen. Like, for example, the New Jersey Devils, it's one of the most disappointing runs that we've seen in the NHL over the last few years. Their team is so good, they need a goaltender. I don't know how much more Jake Allen moves the needle. It wouldn't surprise me if the Canadiens just hold on to him. Scott Laughton is much like the situation with Walker. I feel like their big trade deadline wins would be to not trade anyone if they are going to make the playoffs. That being said, Scott Laughton probably gets more of a return. I'd say like a 70% chance that he does not get moved. Noah Hanifin is all but dealt, I think. From everything I hear, they're just selling off. The Flames are. They offered him a pretty big contract, and he did not accept it. He is more than likely going to be a Boston Bruin, but there's been reports that he would love to play in Tampa. I don't know how Tampa has any sort of assets that could get the trade done, but he will be moved. So if you want to get Noah Hanifin, I think he'll be an 88. Vladimir Tarasenko, this was mentioned on Coffee and Shell. My co-host Padre talked a lot about Tarasenko getting traded. I'm in 100% agreement. I think that this is a perfect Vegas Golden night if they don't get Jake Guentzel. I think that Tarasenko is going to be moved. Matt Dumba is another interesting one because I think that every team needs some right-handed defensemen. The Leafs specifically, they really need Brody to be able to play on his correct side, and Lyubushkin might be out now after getting him. They just don't have a 2nd-round pick, and they're not going to move a 1st. I don't think it would take much to get Dumba. I'll give it like a 50-50. Jake Guentzel, this one's so tough because I legitimately think that this comes down to right up to the deadline because Dubas has to make the playoffs in his next few years because of the Crosby core. Like, they're not going anywhere. However, right now, they're 9 points out of a playoff spot, but they do have 4 games in hand. Like, I think that this comes down to if they rattle off a nice little win streak that I don't think Guentzel gets moved. However, if they have even the slightest slip up, I could see him going to Vegas, 100% with the LTIR and Mark Stone's money not being retained during this next little bit. I could also see him in Edmonton. I just don't know if Edmonton has the assets to be able to get him. You want to know a massive dark horse here? I could see Carolina getting him. They definitely have the assets, and they have like $5 million in cap space. They could make the deal work. If it's not Vegas or Edmonton, I could just see Carolina getting it. Jacob Markstrom. Now, there was a deal apparently with the Devils about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It did not go through because I think the Devils wanted them to retain money on Markstrom, which is just such a laughable mistake by the Devils, because I think with Markstrom, they are not only a playoff team, but they could probably go on a long run. However, that's not the case. Markstrom's been very weird about a trade. He does not want to be questioned to move because he has a no trade clause unless a deal is like done. And apparently he was actually upset about how the deal with the Devils did not go through. I actually don't think that he gets moved this year. I think this is an off-season deal, and Markstrom gets dealt in the off-season. Pavel Buchnevich, probably the most underrated point-per-game player over the last few years, and my God, what a fleecing of the New York Rangers. He is making less than $6 million a year. The only problem is like, I don't think the Blues will ever go full rebuild. I don't think they have like the ownership or like the fan base for it that can support a full teardown rebuild like you're seeing with the Sharks. And I don't think they're that far away. I mean, like, they're 5 points out of a playoff spot right now. They could definitely get a haul for him, though. I think that this happens next year if it happens, though. Frank Vatrano having a career season. He's got another year on his deal at $3.6 million. The odds that he comes anywhere close to what he's done this season next year is just so low that I feel like it would be a mistake to not sell him now. Not to mention that the core of the Ducks he is not going to be around when the Ducks are ready to go on a Stanley Cup run. I've seen things about him going back to the Rangers, but again, same situation. I could see him anywhere from Edmonton to Vegas, anywhere of those guys. I think that he does get dealt. And then lastly, we've got this 92 Jordan Eberle. He's a free agent next year. He's making 5.5 now. He's 33. It would just stun me if the Kraken don't just re-sign him. I know they could in the offseason, but he's kind of a part of like their history, being there from the beginning and a leader on the team. I just don't feel that like he'll get moved. It would be so weird. Not to mention, I feel so old that Jordan Eberle is 33 years old. Good. All right, let's rank the week 1 master set players from this event. Again, do not make them. This is more for just discussion, if anything. Number 5 is Ryan Smith. I actually don't think this card is all that bad. He's 6'2", 191. Really fun. I love trying to get tip shots in. Total Eclipse is a really fun ability as well. You've got close quarters, no contest, 94 speed, excel agility, 96 balance, good shot, checking, all of that. He is a pure winger. The reason why I have him at number 5 is because his power-up icon card is just as good. He's got goal total eclipse. He's got big tipper, born leader, close quarters, and crease crasher. You can go checking boost to help out his lower endurance, and it would actually cost you less to get all the power-up collectibles to upgrade him to his 94. So if you really wanted a Ryan Smith card, I would just go with this one. Number 4 is the 94 Brad Richards. Just kind of like ho-hum across the board. 95 speed, excel, agility, balance. Oh, that's all good. 95 face-off, sure. His abilities are all just, like, it's the most mid combination of abilities you can have in a master set player. He doesn't get, like, a skating increase or anything like that. Like I said, just kind of mediocre across the board here. Not bad, but not great. Coming in at number 3 for me is the 94 Larry Murphy. Now, this card is far better than his icon, so if you really wanted a Larry Murphy card, this would be the one. He can get up to 95 speed, 97 acceleration with accelerator boost activated. Two-way defenseman almost maxes at all of his defensive stats. Edges is fine on him. In reverse is whatever. Seeing Eye is fun, and Quick Pick is a very useful ability. He's also 6'1", 215, so he is kind of big in terms of weight. There are worse right-handed defensemen you could go after, but again, the cost to make him is so high, so it'd be only worth a buy. Number 2 is the 94 Patrick Kane. 97 speed, 99 acceleration, can get speed boost to max out his skating. Hand stats are great, and those can also be maxed, and so is his shots. It's his abilities, like puck on a string is fun if you are someone that plays sixes and you stick handle constantly. Make it snappy has proven to be one of the best abilities in the game this season. Shrug it off is also useful, and is elite edges. The issue here is that he's smaller with no unstoppable force. So you have to go in knowing that if he gets checked at all by pretty much any card in the game currently, he's getting thrown off the puck. But again, you're not going to be able to build him for any sort of a reasonable price. And then by far number 1, finally, a decent skating Markstrom card. He's got power and two-way forward as well as defensive checking and playmaking boost, 94 speed, 94 acceleration, 95 balance. His shot is good. Gold unstoppable force, born leader, back at you, and no contest. A fun collection of abilities. He's also huge. This is like the right-handed version of Mikko Rantanen. A fantastic card and one that I wish I could actually make. I'll hope and pray that they figure out a way to address this in week 2. But again, with the way that the current format of the event is structured, it's GG's. So that is going to do it for the week 1 tier list breakdown and predictions. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.